This movie is something that it's hard to really encourage you to watch more than once. I saw it one time in theaters, and it was one of the most tension filled screenings and anxiety inducing movies I've ever watched that I never want to watch again. What's up, boils and ghouls? If you saw Backrooms and you just can't get enough of the way it made you feel, then you're in luck, because I've got 10 movies that I recommend you checking out next that recapture at least some elements of Backrooms. And if you stick around, I'll even give you a bonus 11th thing to watch. Is it a movie? Is it a show? Is it a mirror? Stick around to find out. Now, as anyone who has seen Backrooms can say, you can't really pinpoint the one thing about the movie that makes it a success or makes you feel a certain way. One element of it is the liminal horror of it, which is a familiar, mundane, very commonplace environment that just for whatever reason something feels off or malignant or nefarious in some way, like just something about a familiar setting that something is just a little bit off. That's one thing that definitely stuck out with me and lots of other people. The idea of this like retro-futurism, research, technology, scientific experiments, that's another thing that really stuck out to me. And another thing is just the overall vibe, this dreamlike quality that the whole movie had. Even the scenes that weren't in the back rooms, just the scenes in the furniture store, something about it felt out of time, out of place, just a bit odd. So these 10 movies capture at least one element of what I think makes Backrooms a success. Exit 8. This is the most recent entry on the list, just came out earlier this year. It's based on a video game of the same name, and basically it follows a man who exits a subway, and as he's taking the stairs to get out of the subway station, he starts to realize he's kind of caught in a loop of some sorts, like literally just walking past the same posters and signs, seeing the same exact person walk past him over and over again. He sees instructions that say, and that sets up the gamification of this narrative. It's based on a video game, so the video game can take you minutes to complete. So this movie isn't extremely deep or rich in like mythology, but if you like the concept of getting trapped in a liminal space, then definitely check out Exit 8. Beyond the Black Rainbow. If you saw Mandy, you know how much of a wild man Panos Cosmatos is, and this was really the movie that put him on the map. It takes place at some bizarre facility where there's a girl who maybe has some sort of telekinetic powers. Whatever the research being done on her is kind of unknown. There's a lot of bizarre, monotonous voiceovers that have a sinister quality to them. It captures the monotony of seemingly boring surroundings like this research facility. But what it definitely replicates is that retro-futurism, the tech that is being used to carry out these experiments. It could be taking place in present day, it could be taking place in the past. It's just a really cool production design. So if you like how Backrooms looked, then you'll probably like Beyond the Black Rainbow. It Follows. Narratively, there's not much connection between Backrooms and It Follows. I think this definitely comes down to the overall dreamlike aesthetic and vibe. It's about an otherworldly presence, demon, monster thing that can take the shape of anyone it wants, and it slowly tracks down its victim. The only way to pass along this quote-unquote curse is by having sex with someone, and they become the new victim, and they have to pass it along. So it's an allegory for sexually transmitted diseases and just that transition from teenager to adulthood. But even though there's a girl who uses an e-reader that is a clam shell, outside of that, there is no indicator of when or where this takes place. I think anyone familiar with It Follows knows that it is connected to Detroit and Michigan. And there's small references to the fact that that's where it takes place, but without those small pieces of dialogue, it could take place just like anywhere. So It Follows captures that dreamlike nostalgia, this timelessness that Backrooms also delivers. Session 9. This is a movie about a cleanup crew that is tasked with cleaning out the Danvers State Hospital in Danvers, Massachusetts. The longer that this cleanup crew is there, the more they just kind of start to lose their minds. So that's one element, is that they're in a relatively boring place, and the longer they're in this place, the weirder it seems and the more mad they start to go while they're there. But I think also there's a through line in Session 9 about these reel-to-reel audio recordings that, as a character is listening to them, voiceover again is playing a major part of the overall vibe of the movie. So this one's a little bit outside the box. It's not a direct connection to Backrooms, but I think there's enough small elements of each movie that kind of overlap with one another that if you like Backrooms, I think there's something for you in Session 9. Skinamarink. This movie is something that it's hard to really encourage you to watch more than once. I saw it one time in theaters, and it was one of the most tension-filled screenings and anxiety-inducing movies I've ever watched that I never want to watch again. All that happens is two kids wake up in the middle of the night and their parents aren't there and they don't quite know what to do. They go from room to room, and sometimes the rooms look different. All of the shots in this movie are basically just static shots of walls or ceiling fans or the glow from the TV. The entire movie, you are searching the corners, trying to see, trying to listen. Is there more going on that the narrative isn't telling you? So it's a really eerie movie. However, it's 90 minutes of just watching very boring stuff. So not a lot happens. It's definitely more of a mood piece than anything else. However, the filmmaker did make a short film before Skinamarink that's called Heck, and it's on YouTube, and it's the same thing pretty much as Skinamarink, but it only lasts 30 minutes. So if you're nervous about testing your patience, then give Heck a shot, and if you like that, you can upgrade to Skinamarink. Cube. So this is a movie where people wake up in a very strange room. They don't know how they got there, why they're there, who put them there, who the other people in the room are, and they start trying to find ways to exit this room. And when they exit this room, they just enter another room that looks exactly the same. So if you liked the just repetitive, endless nature of Backrooms, when these characters keep rounding corners and going down hallways and only opening up more places for them to explore, then Cube is similar in that same disorienting geographic. Not only can the characters not get a sense of where they are in time and space, but the audience also doesn't know where they are in time or space. So if just that maze of what the Backrooms are is up your alley, then give Cube a shot. The Blair Witch Project and Blair Witch. In the original Blair Witch Project, people go into the woods. They're trying to make a documentary about the Blair Witch in Burkittsville, Maryland. And try as they might, they just cannot escape from these woods. They travel all day in one direction and walk for miles, but they just can't escape their surroundings. And that's very similar to Backrooms. Trade trees for dingy yellow fluorescent lights and gross carpeting and weird wallpaper, and that's Backrooms. So that's kind of the big connection between those two. Blair Witch, the 2016 film that's a sequel, is similar in that sense of just being disoriented, not really knowing where you are in time and space in the woods, how to get out of the woods, or anything like that. But I will also say that Blair Witch has bigger scares. There's like shadowy figures, there's things you don't know, unexplainable things that you're only getting brief glimpses of. And there's many scenes in Backrooms where both the viewer and the characters don't know what they're looking at, or if they saw what they think they saw. Especially in the finale of Blair Witch, there's some really creepy, really disturbing, really effective stuff. Vivarium. In the movie, a couple is driving out of the city and into the suburbs, and they are clearly a couple who's been together maybe a little bit too long. They're kind of out of that honeymoon phase, but also don't know if they want to commit to the let's get married phase. And as they're driving, they find themselves in a neighborhood, and every single house just looks like one another. Realizing that they can't escape, they just kind of make themselves at home and start to embrace a life of boring suburban domesticity. So similar to Exit 8, just the idea of characters going about their day and then, oh, we've slipped through reality into some other dimension, then that's going to be what is most similar between Backrooms and Vivarium. And like Backrooms, Vivarium tries to tackle some bigger themes about relationships and family life and cultural expectations. It's not as creepy as some of the other movies on this list, but both Backrooms and Vivarium have that idea of going about your day and just, whoops, I'm in a liminal space outside of space and time. Langoliers. So this is a little bit of a cheat because it was a made-for-TV 2-part miniseries. It's about a plane that is going on a long flight, and then out of nowhere, there's just some weird thing that happens in the sky, and the plane has to make an emergency landing at an airport that is completely empty. We're not talking like this is a small airport. Like, this is a major airport, and there's just nobody there, and they can't figure out why. All they know is that there's this strange sound coming from the woods that seems to be growing louder and louder, and turns out that that sound is the Langoliers, which is creatures that eat time. So essentially these characters, like Backrooms, find themselves in a place that exists outside of time and space. This was a 2-part miniseries that was made in the 90s, so there are some rough effects and rough performances. However, I saw this movie like as a kid when it first aired on TV, and it really freaked me out then, and I didn't want to revisit it. And then when I did, I realized, oh yeah, there is cool stuff in there, but also this is pretty dated. And why is Balky from Perfect Strangers acting like a psychopath? Who knows? But again, you like that idea of slipping out of space and time, then check out Langoliers. So yes, Langoliers is a bit of a cheat, but definitely not as much of a cheat as my next thing, which I promised at the beginning, that is a huge cheat. Channel Zero. So I've already made an entire video about all 4 seasons of this TV show. So I'm going to once again plug Channel Zero. And if you want to learn more about it, then you can watch that video. I will say specifically, season 2 of Channel Zero is called The No End House. Much like Backrooms, all seasons of Channel Zero were based or inspired by Reddit lore or creepypasta stories, and the No End House is no different. The Channel Zero version of the No End House is that there's a pop-up haunted house that travels around the world, and supposedly it's so scary that no one actually ever makes it to the end, but our heroes in this show do somehow make it to the end, but when they exit the final house, they find themselves in an alternate reality where people they thought were dead are alive, and it's the neighborhood that they live in, but things are just sort of off, and there's boundaries that they can't cross. So this is yet another liminal space horror show, literally a horror show because it's a show about horror. This is just another great opportunity to dive into liminal space if that element of Backrooms is what really got under your skin. It's just a really fascinating subset of horror that we haven't gotten enough of, I don't think, because so many movies, when they introduce liminal space, they end up just giving them definitions or distinctions, or here are the rules of the reality that we've stepped into, and things are so much more frightening when you don't know the rules of where you are, or what dimension you might be in. I'd also recommend checking out season 4 of Channel Zero called The Dream Door, which is about a door that sort of connects to another realm, and a character emerges from that realm. So it's less about going into a place and exploring that otherworldliness, and more about just kind of connecting to it and kind of bringing darker elements from that world into our world. But honestly, because those original Backrooms shorts were inspired by creepypasta and internet lore, all episodes of Channel Zero are inspired by creepypasta. So it just delivers an otherworldly, surreal, bizarre, unsettling concept of terror that if just the vibe of Backrooms was up your alley, then you're definitely going to like literally every single season of Channel Zero. So those were my picks for what you should watch after watching Backrooms. If you think I got it totally wrong, if you think I got it totally right, then let me know down in the comments. Please don't tell me to watch Grave Encounters. I've seen that movie and that movie sucks. I will say As Above, So Below, I almost considered including, but you only got so much time for so many lists.